Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
She is sure. She is sure. She is strong. She is strong. She is true. She is true. She is brave. She is brave. She is bold. She is bold. She is you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Word of Mom Radio here on the Word of Mom Media Network. I'm your host, Dori DeCarlo, and you know we are here week after week, show after show, breaking those myths that mompreneurs and businesswomen, especially those of us building our businesses from home, that we're just dabbling in between bake sales and getting our nails done. We're not. We are smart, we are savvy, and we are sharing the wisdom of women in business and in life. And I love sharing fellow podcasters, so I'm very excited about bringing today's guest into our Healthy Habits show. Barb Nangle is a boundaries coach, speaker, and the host of the podcast Fragmented to Whole: Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. And she also offers a free boundary building starter kit on her site. In 2015, at the age of 52, after decades of therapy and tons of self-work in a variety of areas, Barb got into 12-step recovery. She's been in 2 such fellowships since then and has changed deeply and profoundly as a result. As a former addict and people-pleasing rescuer, she empowers people to thrive and take more control over their boundaries and professional lives by coaching them to building healthy boundaries. Barb works with organizations in helping professions as well as women entrepreneurs to avoid burnout and reduce turnover. Her specialty is working with professional women who say yes when they really want to say no and are so focused on others that they neglect themselves. She's coached hundreds using her boundary building systems and is out there making a difference. And I can keep on going, but I'd much rather bring Barb in. So with all that being said, Barb, welcome to Word of Mom Radio.
Thank you so much, Dori. I am really excited to be here. As you know from our previous correspondence, I identified very strongly as an entrepreneur. I do a lot of networking with women entrepreneurs. I've coached lots of moms, and many of whom are also entrepreneurs. And my experience, I think, especially with women, not that men don't have problem with boundaries, but I know that a lot of women entrepreneurs suck at boundaries. So that means things like they don't charge at least market rate. They don't get rid of toxic clients, employees, and vendors. They don't delegate. They don't take good care of themselves. They believe that only they can do it. And they end up getting burnt out. So it's really hard to have a thriving business or to at least sustain a thriving business if you don't eventually learn how to build healthy personal and professional boundaries. So I'm super excited to be here.
As we're talking about this, so many people deal with guilt and shame because now they're setting boundaries and it's so difficult to do that. So let's talk about what a boundary is and why, especially women, because it really is. I've yet to hear a guy go, I really feel bad that I charged my clients so much.
I know.
Men never do this.
No,
Women beat
they
themselves
don't.
up. So let's talk about that, what a boundary is and why it's so hard.
So boundaries, I think of them as standards or guidelines for your life. And then there are limits that you have for yourself and other people to uphold those standards. So for example, you and I were just talking that, I have years of substance use and compulsive overeating in my history. So I've basically abused and neglected myself for a long time. So health is a very important value of mine. So I have some health standards. So I have limits for myself. So like I have many, but for example, I don't stay up until all hours of the night the way I used to. I go to bed usually by 11 at the latest because sleep is a foundation for health. A limit I have for other people, I don't allow people to smoke in my house because I live in a healthy household. So that's a basic example. And you've actually asked, I have top three questions I get. What's a boundary? How do I get rid of the guilt and shame? And then what do I do when people push back? So the guilt and shame, there's not a quick answer to that, but it's absolutely doable. And the reason it's not a quick answer is because we have to start by figuring out what matters to me, what's important to me. So when I coach my private clients, I have them do an exercise before we even start to come up with their top 5 values. And it's not just a list. It's what does this value mean to me and why does it matter to me? And then they use those values as sort of like guideposts or guardrails for how to make decisions in their lives and where and when to set boundaries. And the reason that helps with the guilt and shame is because we're coming into integrity with ourselves. What I found personally for me, as well as the clients that I work with, is we say things are important to us, but we're not living in alignment with that. So building healthy boundaries is about getting yourself back into integrity with yourself, living in alignment with what matters to you. And when you start doing that, it's like you're grounded in you. I think of me as I'm situated in me, in my body and my life. When we have poor boundaries, we are typically not situated in us. We're so focused on other people, places and things, but especially what does he need? What does she need? What do they need? And we never ask, what do I need? So partly the guilt and shame is dealt with by focusing on what's important to us, but ultimately it's about taking the focus from out there and bringing it in here. And it's about focusing internally, not because that's selfish, because that's a myth that I get, oh, it's selfish for me to take care of myself. No, it's not. It's actually self-preservation. And it's selfless because when you fill your cup first and you pour from the overflow, you're not trying to pour from an empty cup and you have more to give. So I want to give you an example, Dori. So I think of myself as having been a volunteeraholic before I got in recovery. So I have volunteered for 15 different nonprofit organizations over the years. And I got to the point where I was resentful and burnt out, and I'd be like, why does she keep asking me? Well, she asked me 16 times to volunteer because 15 times I said yes. Right. And so now I actually donate more hours per week in community service than I ever did before, but I do it strategically rather than at the drop of a hat. I do it by choice rather than by sense of compulsion or obligation. And I do it after filling my cup first. So I pour from the overflow. So when you start to focus internally, it doesn't mean you're going to turn into a selfish bitch. It means you're going to have an overflowing cup and you're going to be much more strategic about how you give service. And you're not going to become resentful. You're not going to become burnt out. And especially if you're a mom, you are modeling for your children, I'm not expendable. And when you grow up, you won't be expendable either.
I really love that answer because let's face it, women had a really difficult time and then they feel guilt and bad because now all of a sudden when they do say no, people are just shocked. What do you mean you're not going to drop everything and do something because I need you to? And how do you deal with that? Because let's face it, you get that pushback from people
Right.
when all of a sudden you create a priority for
Yeah.
you.
So I'm going to answer that question, but I'm going to do a couple of preambles. Number one, we are always teaching people how to treat us. Most of the time, we're teaching them, treat me the same as you always have, treat me the same as you always have, treat me the same as you always have. When you start building healthy boundaries, we are re-teaching them how to treat us. So there's that. Then I want to make the distinction between harms and hurts, because so many people are like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. And I don't want you to actively hurt anybody's feelings. But if somebody's feelings must be hurt, it shouldn't be you. So let's say that you had 10 people that you wanted to set boundaries with, and you didn't set boundaries with any of them. So you've probably hurt your own feelings 10 times over. But if you do go to set boundaries with those 10 people, maybe 3 of them might get their feelings hurt. So 3 separate people have had their feelings hurt once, whereas you took 10 hits, 3 people took 1 hit, right? So if someone's feelings must be hurt, it shouldn't be you. But also, there's a difference between harming someone and hurting someone. So it might hurt you to take a needle to get a splinter out of your finger, but it's not going to harm you. In fact, it's going to heal you. It might hurt someone's feelings to set a boundary with them, but it's not going to harm them. In fact, there's the possibility that it could heal the relationship. And that's because you're coming clean with them and being honest with them about what's okay and not okay. Even if it doesn't heal the relationship with that person, it heals your relationship with yourself, because you've started to show up for yourself, follow through for yourself, and act in alignment with what matters to you. In other words, bring yourself into integrity with yourself. And integrity is another word for wholeness. Who doesn't want to be whole? So when people push back, I want you to also consider there's a whole host of reasons. Number 1, they maybe forgot because you never did that before. Number 2, maybe they don't believe you because you've never done it before. And so they're kind of testing, like, is this real? Or are you making this up? Is this a one-time thing? And 3, it could be they have poor boundaries. So it's really difficult for them to respect other people's boundaries, which means it's even more important for you to hold fast to your boundaries. So typically, consider, like, most people are not jerks. Like, unless you're dealing with someone who's like toxic, inebriated, mentally ill, etc., just assume the best of intentions and they forgot or something like that. So it's typically like, like, let's say somebody asked you to do something and you say, I'm not available. And if they say, like, really, I really need you to do it. No, I'm not available. So you simply repeat what you are telling them. And sometimes you do it in different ways. I have something else on my calendar. I'm not available. I'm not going to be able to make it. Nope, I can't be there. Like, you say it in a bunch of different ways. And in the beginning, it might be hard to say it like on an even keel with an even tone the way I'm doing it. Do your best to do it, even if you feel like you're crumbling. I know in the beginning, I felt like I was going to die. Like, I literally felt like my life was under threat. And I didn't die. And I actually said to my fellows in recovery, like, I did it and I didn't die. And I felt like it was important for me to tell myself that. So intellectually in my frontal lobe, I could hear it, and eventually it would get dumped into, I call it my lizard brain, you know? And so, and then sometimes, like, I'm also a fan of holding your hand up and being like, I'm going to stop you right there, because there's something when you put your hand up, you are reinforcing visually what you're saying, but there's also something energetically that you're doing is you're pushing that energy back at the other person. Like, you're not accepting the no energy that they're pushing at you. And then usually, like, if people just don't like, the consequence for your boundary in those cases is that you don't follow through and do what they want you to do. If you cave, then they don't believe you, and you have shown them, I am not a woman of my word, because when I told you no, I actually did yes. So you've shown yourself you're not in integrity with yourself. And I just want to also say something else that really helped me in recovery. So let's say that you do cave on a boundary. This is info, not ammo. This is information for you to learn, integrate, and grow from. It is not ammunition to beat yourself up. So a lot of us just beat the crap out of ourselves. I always thought I had high self-esteem and I liked myself and I was this positive person, and I am and was, but I didn't realize I was literally like scanning the horizon for reasons to beat myself up before I got in recovery. And when I learned this phrase, info, not ammo, what I got to was that I wanted to go on the bridge from self-judgment, where I was beating the crap out of myself for something, to self-compassion. And the way to do that is through curiosity. Curiosity is neutral. I love curiosity because it's neutral. So when you say, this is info, not ammo, you're being curious and you're able to jump that bridge from self-judgment to self-compassion. So it might be something like, what do I make of this? What is going on here? I think a better question is, what could I do differently? If you take the energy that you've been using to beat yourself up and you put it into problem solving and changing your behavior, it's going to have so much bigger of an impact, because clearly beating yourself up is not working. It's not helping you. So if you do cave on a boundary, be gentle with yourself and think through, okay, what could I do differently next time? Maybe it's, I'm going to reach out to a friend and say, hey, I just said no to somebody. Can you help me like stand firm in my boundary? Having the support of other people is huge. I was in a small 12-step recovery group with 3 other women when I started building boundaries. And it was probably a couple years after I had a really good handle on my boundaries that I realized just how important those women were to me, because they not only helped me with things like, Barb, keep your hands away from the keyboard, like don't respond to that email. And they said things like, you deserve to set this boundary. You are not a bad person. So they gave me pointers, but they also like affirmed me and validated me. And they also said things like, are you sure you want to say it like that? So having other people, especially if they're not emotionally involved in this situation, can be an absolute game changer. So whatever you have to do next time, like when you think through what I'm going to do next time, you're creating neural pathways for new possibilities. So info, not ammo is absolutely huge, especially when you're learning how to deal with people's pushback behavior.
On that note, think of what Barb just said. Info, not ammo. Let's take a quick break. We're going to say thank you to our sponsors, and we'll be back here in just a moment on Word of Mom Radio. She is brave, she is bold, she is you, and we want to tell your story. Are you ready to share your journey with us on Word of Mom Radio? Go to wordofmomradio.com and register as a guest. We want to tell your story because when you win, we all win.
In 2017, Unsilenced Voices was formed to help survivors of domestic abuse and gender-based violence worldwide. The organization currently serves Sierra Leone, Rwanda, Ghana, and the USA. In 2022, Unsilenced Voices gifted over $33,000 to survivors in the USA. And in Sierra Leone, there are over 26 young girls who have been rescued from sex trafficking and domestic abuse and now going through vocational training school in order to better their lives. We need your help. Donations are critical in order for us to continue our work. We also need volunteers to help with research and development. Please visit unsilencedvoices.org for more information.
And we're back here on Word of Mom Radio. We are talking with Barb Nangle, the podcast host of Fragmented to Whole: Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. I actually want to talk a little about 12-step recovery, because when people hear that, they immediately think of AA, but there are so many of these programs out there for support. So let's talk a little about that, Barb.
Sure. Yeah. So I had heard of AA as long as I can remember, and there were many times when I thought maybe I qualified for the program. Of course, I never joined it. I'd also heard of Al-Anon and ACA. I had heard of it as ACOA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, but I never understood like what happens in those programs. Why do adult children of alcoholics need a program? And as you mentioned in my intro, when I was 52, I hit a codependent bottom when I invited a homeless friend that I met through church to stay at my home during a snowstorm, which I now know is not normal behavior. And I invited him to stay, and he did. And then another time and another time. And within a few weeks, he was practically living with me. And I soon felt trapped in my own home. And one day I was talking about him with my therapist. And in the middle of a sentence story, I was like, "Oh my God, do you think I need to go to Al-Anon?" And she was like, yes. And for those who don't know what Al-Anon is, it's a 12-step recovery program for the loved ones of alcoholics. And that you may wonder, why do they need a program? And it's because alcoholism is a family disease. So people tend to think it's the drinking that's the problem. No, it's all the problems that cause the drinking. That's the problem. And then what happens with loved ones is we tend to leap in and do things that we think are going to help our addict or our alcoholic, and they're actually counterproductive. So we swoop in and we try to control them, and we end up usually focusing entirely on them and neglecting ourselves, getting resentful of them for not taking our suggestions and doing what we want. We think if I do this and that, they're going to go to rehab, they're going to go to detox, they're going to go to meetings, they're going to get sober. And then they start blaming you for their drinking because you're trying to control them, and it just turns into a shit show. So I went home from that meeting with my therapist, and I don't know what I put into Google, Dory, but I came up with the word codependent. And I was like, how is it possible that I've never heard of this word codependent? And just briefly, a codependent is a person who essentially is focused on everything outside themselves. So the classic codependent is in some kind of a relationship with an addict or an alcoholic, and engages in all kinds of rescuing, fixing, enabling, etc. behavior. And I was shocked that I had never heard this because I had been in therapy since I was 15. I had read a gajillion self-help books. I did the seminars and the retreats and the workshops and blah, 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 blah. So I started going to Codependence Anonymous, found a sense of relief very quickly. I think partly because I found out there's a thing that describes me, and then also there's people who've recovered from this. And I very soon said to somebody, I think I need to be reparented. But I didn't know reparenting was a thing. And then 6 weeks into my recovery in Coda, I went to go visit a friend in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, who had been in Alcoholics Anonymous for 10 years. And she'd always raved about her experience and the massive recovery that she got. So I said, "You're going to love this. I'm going to Codependence Anonymous." She was like, "This is great. Let's see if we can find a Coda meeting here and I'll take you." Well, she couldn't, but she found an ACA meeting. And I was like, "I'll go for you." Because like, I didn't identify with that. And her dad's an alcoholic. And we walk in, and in the opening readings, they said, "We reparent ourselves." And I was like, what? And then they read the 14 traits of an adult child, which is affectionately called the laundry list. And I was floored. My friend tells me I sobbed the whole meeting. I don't remember that, but I bought the literature, came home to New Haven, Connecticut, started working the steps. For a year, I went to both CODA and ACA, but CODA, I just went to meetings. I didn't do anything really outside the meeting, whereas in ACA, I joined a step group, then I joined another meeting. I started getting involved in the program. And a year into that, I decided to let go of CODA because it was maybe like a 75% fit, whereas ACA was 100% fit. And that turned out to be a higher powered moment for me because my CODA meeting was on Monday nights. And then a friend that I was doing the steps with had started going to Overeaters Anonymous and was sort of gently trying to like get me into the program. And I finally went to a meeting with her and I went, "Oh my God, I'm a compulsive overeater." I had no idea that was even a thing, never mind that I was that. And I started going on Monday nights to a downtown New Haven Overeaters Anonymous meeting. I'm now down over 100 pounds from my top weight. I've been in recovery for 10 years. I am vastly changed. I didn't know ACA is a trauma recovery program where you reparent yourself and you use the 12 steps to recover. I didn't know that I had intergenerational family dysfunction. I didn't know that I had childhood trauma. I didn't know that I had abandonment issues. There's so much that never came up in all those years of therapy and self-help. And here's how I think of it, Dori. All that work I did before scratched the surface of the iceberg of my life, and recovery melted the iceberg. So for me, the 12 steps are where it's at. I know that they're not for everybody, but like you said, there's way more than AA. I think there's something like 200 12-step recovery programs, often for addiction, but also for things that people sometimes call process addictions. So like food, sex, gambling, debt, etc. So, I can't say enough good things about the 12 steps of recovery.
I think it's remarkable that there are so many different things because you know what? Finding support is a tremendous thing.
Oh
Help
God,
with
yes.
your mind shift because until
Hmm.
you shift
Hmm.
that mind shift
Oh yeah.
and realizing, as you were saying, that you didn't even realize these certain things that
Yeah.
were just part of your life, part of who
Hmm.
you are,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you take it because this is who I am, as
Right.
opposed to this is what I've been taught to
Right.
become. What
Yeah.
do you think for you was your most important mind shift that you
Coming out of victim
experienced?
mentality, but hands down, coming out like I didn't know, and I'm not the quintessential victim. I'm not like, woe is me, the world is against me. I've never been like that. My victim mentality was very subtle because I've always felt like a powerful woman of agency. I always have. But for me, where I first started to realize it was when I did my relationship inventory and 12-step recovery. And I realized that for every person I ever dated, I had the thought, if only they would fill in the blank, then everything would be okay. And when I saw it in relationship after relationship, it was like, this is me acting like I have nothing to do with the status of any of my relationships. And I eventually came to realize that what I believed subconsciously was that I was responsible for all of the good things in all my relationships, and he, whoever he was responsible for all the bad things. And I'm like, I'm trying not to laugh here because that's laughable, that any one person could be 100% responsible for everything bad. So most of us, Dory, know that it takes one person to change a relationship, but we think that one person is our partner. It's not, it's you. So when you start to change the way that you interact and the way that you think, then the things around you are going to change. And I have evidence of that in that I'm now in a 6.5 year, very healthy relationship for the first time in my life. I was 55 and he was 60 when we met. And I couldn't have had this healthy relationship before having healthy boundaries because I now know who I am, where I end and other people begin, what's okay with me, what's not okay with me, what I want, like, need, and prefer. I know how to communicate that to my partner. He has excellent boundaries. And so I'm not blaming him for things, which is what I was doing in my other relationships. So I'm not, if only he would. If I need something to change, then I need to articulate that instead of waiting around. So my victim mentality was if only thinking, constantly blaming other people, complaining all the time. And so now I'm much more of a proactive person in my life than a reactive person, which is another way of saying like I'm a creator rather than a victim of my life. But that was by far, and I have many episodes on my podcast about coming out of victim mentality because every time like another layer of that comes, I do an episode on it so that, because it's so subtle, at least for me, it's very subtle.
What a great way to wrap up this conversation, Barb. As we are closing out, what would you like to leave our listeners with, and how may they reach out to you?
So I want to say, keep the focus on yourself. So that means things like asking, what do I want and need here? Instead of always, what does everybody else need? Mind your own business. Do not give unsolicited advice. I was the queen of that. If you want to help people, please get their consent. Ask yourself, like, what's my part here? If you don't like a dynamic that you're involved in, like you're the common denominator, and that's info, not ammo. So what could you do differently? And then my favorite way of keeping the focus on yourself, please take really good care of yourself, your physical body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. Please take really good care of yourself so that you can pour from the overflow. And then they can find me on my podcast. If they're on this podcast, they can just head on over to Fragmented to Whole, or they can go to fragmentedtowhole.com. My favorite place to hang out on social media is Instagram. I'm at Higher Power Coaching. And then, as you mentioned, I have a free boundary building starter kit. It's called Accelerate My Boundaries. Um, And it's a fast track starter kit, and it's at boundariesstarterkit.com.
All of Barb's links are going to be live on Word of Mom Radio. Get the resources. As women, let's face it, it is a continual thing to put ourselves last. And all I can say is you are the nucleus of your family and of your life.
And your life.
Of your life. And if you are not spinning on your axis correctly, everything else is going to bounce off you.
Right.
It's impossible. No matter how hard we try, we are not going to accomplish what we want to accomplish if we don't take care of ourselves first. We say it on this show all the time. Self-love is not selfish.
Right.
It is not. It is self-fulfilling. When you take care of you, you now have the power to take care of others. Can't take care of others carefully if you can't take care of yourself first. It's like my mom always said, you have to be your own best friend to have friends.
Yes.
You don't know how to be a friend to yourself. How can you be a friend to others? And it's funny. I'm going to leave you with this because I was sitting with a friend one time who was beating herself up. I can't even tell you. And I just looked at her. I said, how dare you talk about my friend like this?
I've done the same. Like, don't talk to my friend like that.
Exactly. And her daughter was sitting there. She goes, yeah, stop saying that about my mom.
Yeah.
And she just looked at us and said, oh my gosh. I said, yeah. Do you hear how you are talking to yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Psychology has shown if you talk nicely to a plant, it is going to grow. Imagine talking like that to yourself. So, you know, love yourself. You are so important. There is nobody like you. You bring value to this world. Be proud of who you are. So, Barb, thank you so much.
No, thank you. And thank you for your mission here. This is incredible. I love what you're doing. And I'm so thrilled and honored to be invited as a guest. Thank you so much.
Right back at you, because what you're doing with your podcast is really important. I really appreciate it. So thank you. And for all of you tuning in, thanks so much for being here. We're going to close out with our fabulous theme song from Smith Sisters and the Sunday Drivers. So till next time, this is Dori DeCarlo saying go out and create a marvelous you. Bye for now.
She is sure. She is sure. She is strong. She is strong. She is true. She is true. She is brave. She is brave. She is bold. She is bold. She is you. She is you. She is you. She is you. She is sure. She is sure. She is strong. She is strong. She is true. She is true. She is brave. She is brave. She is bold. She is bold. She is you. She is you. She is you. She is you. Sure of herself, yeah, she takes care of biz. Powerful and strong, yeah, she knows who she is. Has integrity, woman strong and true. You know her by name, see this woman is you. She is sure. She is sure. She is strong. She is strong. She is true. She is true. She is brave. She is brave. She is bold. She is bold. She is you. She is you. She is you. She is you. She is sure. She is sure. She is strong. She is strong. She is true. She is true. She is brave. She is brave. She is bold. She is bold. She is you. She is you. She is you. She is you. Adds value and hope. Has proved to be brave. See, it's never too late. Never time to behave. Reaching for dreams. Doesn't matter the age. Believes in herself. Unleashed from her cage. She is sure. She is sure. She is strong. She is strong. She is true. She is true. She is brave. She is brave. She is bold. She is bold. She is you. She is you. She is you. She is you. She is sure. She is sure. She is strong. She is strong. She is true. She is true. She is brave. She is brave. She is bold. She is bold. She is you.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.